will stand in our way, and our golden age has just begun.
This is Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Now it's time for everyone to understand what America First truly means. Welcome to the Second American Revolution.
Are we live? Are we good? Well, folks, did you know that in the last 6 weeks, 86 million AT&T users had their name, address, and social security numbers leaked? Or that the CCP is harvesting massive volumes of Americans' data? No, I don't think we're on.
We're live.
Oh, all right. No, I don't have any audio here. Hey, guys, we're doing it live. What can I say? Folks, did you know that in the last 6 weeks, 86 million AT&T users had their name, address, and social security numbers leaked, or that the CCP is harvesting massive volumes of Americans' personal data to train DeepSeek and other AI systems? Well, when you're online doing the work like I am, you need digital camouflage. And that's why I've partnered with our show's latest sponsor, Patriot Protect. Patriot Protect removes your personal data from the internet. Whether it's Google, Amazon, or Apple, your personal data will be wiped so that scammers and cyber criminals and swatters, like the ones who tried to come after the Poso family, will not and cannot find your data and can take back your security and your privacy. One Patriot Protect scans, once they scan and scrub your personal data off the internet, they'll continuously monitor your info to make sure every new instance is a possible data breach. It's going to be eliminated immediately. You got to check these guys out. Look, I do this personally for my family. I do it for other members of my family as well, just because of the nature of what I do. Folks, the only thing that's worse than getting hacked or beyond is knowing that you could have stopped it by taking action before it happened. Go to patriot-protect.com/Poso and use promo code Poso for 15% off a yearly subscription. That's patriot-protect.com/Poso and use promo code Poso for 15% off a yearly subscription. patriot-protect.com/Poso. All right, guys, so we're here at the White House currently. I'm still working on getting my audio back up right now. So while we're waiting for that, oh wait, guys, do we have him? Oh, we do. Okay. So, all right. Guess that got cleared up. Super excited. We love doing these field shots, folks. And by the way, special thanks to the Real America's Voice team being flexible with us. Didn't even know 24 hours ago that I'd be here back at the White House doing the new media seat again. But hey, when they invite, you gotta come in. And when it comes down to this, U.S., Russia, Ukraine, talking about issues of war and peace, this is absolutely something that it is seminal that we need to be here for, because it's just that important. Someone else who also understands the importance of this is Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire. He joins us now. What's up, Knowles?
Great to be with you, sir. I think I recognize that building behind you. Have I seen it before?
No, this is actually just a set. So we've constructed an elaborate set for my show due to my exacting standards.
Just like Joe Biden. I remember that. They pretended Joe Biden was in the Oval Office. That's good. I'm glad that you could have a similar setup.
We got it. Basically, we got it at a fire sale. They said they were trying to get rid of it because Joe Biden's there. But don't worry, because we performed an exorcism before we set foot on it.
That's good. Very wise. I think actually the last time I saw you at the White House, you may have even rosary checked me. I can't quite recall, but that would be fitting.
I definitely rosary checked you, and in fact, my rosary is just out of reach right now in my bag because I took it out of my pocket so I could go on air. But Knowles, we're talking about the rosary because we're praying today. President Trump made reference to this earlier, that so much of this, choosing peace over war, it really is a spiritual choice, isn't it?
Of course, and not to get too into the weeds on everything, but the Alaska summit took place on the Feast of the Assumption of Mary. Mary, who now for 100 years we've recognized that she will play a role in the Christianization of Russia, prayers throughout the Catholic Church for Russia to be consecrated to Mary. So, I know for our friends out there who are Protestant and Jewish and irreligious, this all sounds probably kind of wacky. But to the Catholics in the audience, the timing seems providential, and Trump does seem like the president for peace. I mean, the guy has a very good record on this. How quickly we moved from the Alaska summit. Trump and Putin both left early. They didn't even have lunch, and so people thought it didn't go well. But the press conference seemed to go well, and they didn't get the ceasefire, but they are moving forward with then the meeting with Zelensky and the European leaders. And all of this reads to me as if Trump wants to get a deal done fast, and he might very well do it.
Well, and not only that, but one of the things that I noted, and my wife Tanya being Orthodox, so we're mending the schism here, is that normally the Catholic and Orthodox calendars, they don't quite match up. So even though we have many of the same feast days, it's not usual. People know their Christmas is on a different date, their Easter is on a different date. However, for whatever reason, I haven't dug into it so completely yet, as it turns out, the Russians, who are all Orthodox that were coming on the delegation, it was also the Orthodox Feast of the Assumption in addition to being the Western Feast of the Assumption. And I was thinking, this is incredible because this hardly ever happens. And in fact, Putin went and met with one of the Russian Orthodox leaders in Alaska because that's one of the legacies of the Russian Empire having control of the Alaskan territory is there's a ton of Orthodox. In fact, the Inuit up in Alaska, a ton of them are Russian Orthodox because of this. And so it's very interesting timing with both feast days lining up.
There's a great line, all nature is but art unknown to thee, all chance direction which thou canst not see. So, we believe that Providence governs all of history, and sometimes it's a little clearer than at other times. But I'm just taken by what President Trump said to Emmanuel Macron when he was caught on that hot mic. He said, I think Putin wants to do a deal with me, as crazy as that sounds. And I love both sides of that statement because he's clearly trying to wrangle the Europeans and Zelensky, but he seemed totally sincere. And he said, look, I went there to Alaska and I think Putin actually wants to do a deal. I know that sounds crazy. The Ukraine war has been going on for 11 years and we've been in a Cold War with a little bit of a break with Russia since the 1940s, but I think he wants to do a deal. And so, if they can wrangle this, if they can really make it happen, Trump will be the greatest geopolitical president of my lifetime, probably even edges out George H.W. Bush, which is a guarantee that he will never, ever get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, and that's exactly what I asked about in the press conference just now, because people want to take a step back and say, okay, he's done this deal, he's got this, the Congo, and he's getting Rwanda involved, and all these far-flung leaders, bring him Azerbaijan and Armenia, the oldest Christian nation, by the way, Armenia, and so many others. But what it really constitutes is this idea, the promise that he made, which I do believe is in many ways a spiritual promise, to say we are going to end the era of the endless wars. In addition to that, the endless funding by the U.S. taxpayer. It's a total difference of philosophy that the United States isn't going to be this sort of global empire where our job is to go around and sort of demand how every country in the world is going to interact. And instead, we're going to be a good actor. We're going to have these trade deals. We're going to use that economic basis to hopefully ensue good action from our various compatriots in the world. But it's totally different than using the bayonet, as you just mentioned with George W. Bush.
And even, by the way, when for the people who don't want to go all the way toward a firmly nationalistic view of U.S. policy and, pulling away from our intervention in the rest of the world, even on a purely imperial basis, it would probably be a pretty smart idea for the United States, which has to counter a growing China, to maybe triangulate a little bit and maybe try to split Russia off of China. Because the consequence of the Biden policy was to push our two clearest geopolitical adversaries further together. That poses economic dangers, that poses strategic dangers, security dangers. And then also from the reporting, again, we don't totally know what's real at this point, but we're also being told that Putin has agreed to Western security guarantees in Ukraine. So all of the panicans, as Trump called them, said that any Trump deal is going to threaten American hegemony, threaten the global order, sell out Europe to Putin or whatever. It seems like none of that is coming to pass. And if you think, as most Americans seemed to think, that 4 years under Biden and before the first Trump term, 8 years under Obama had left America weaker and more vulnerable, then I think the only option is to pursue a different course. Trump is doing it, and he seems to be having a lot of success with it.
I think that's right. Now, before we run to break, we have a couple of minutes. I got to ask you this. President Trump started another debate raging online this morning. I hear there's some mainstream media articles being written up about it because he said in an interview earlier today that he hopes that he can achieve peace because he wants to get to heaven if he's able to save a lot of lives. Michael Knowles, is he talking about a works-based justification for salvation?
Of course, leave it to the conservatives and the Christians never to be able to take yes for an answer. But I tell you, after living through years and decades of it's this classic, materialist, secular, atheist nonsense. And you have a president who's speaking in religious terms. And by the way, this isn't the first time. And for a guy who came within 1/20th of an inch of having his head blown off in Butler, that does make you think about the final things. To realize that this man, who is a symbol of luxury and material abundance, thinking about maybe going to heaven, I think that's mighty fine. And we don't need to worry about the heresiarch Pelagius. We dealt with him about 1,700 years ago. Let's let President Trump keep on cooking.
I think it's exactly right. In fact, it's funny because I'm not going to name names, but I brought it up even here at the White House. I said, because I know that we've got sort of the, people who say, okay, well, that's totally fine because you're from the Catholic background or an Orthodox background. But then you got plenty of evangelicals and mainline Protestants and others here who say, well, hold on a second. I think salvation only is enough to get to heaven. I say, all right, guys. All right, I don't know if that's who he's getting into. Jack
What is the line? You are justified by your works and not by faith alone.
Knowles.
Faith without works is dead. I don't know. I'm reminded. I don't know that all this scripture is going to be debated in the West Wing today.
Is that from some book? I don't know.
Book.
Somewhere in there.